Hey guys, I'm recording this at like 3:45 in the morning, so the production quality is not going to be great. You're not going to get to see my face. Hope that's okay. Hope your morning's going better than mine. But let's walk through this worksheet. So again, do not forget to put your name at the top. And your class period. Alright, so number one, I want to use the property that opposite sides are congruent. And I went ahead and wrote down all of the properties. But because on number one I am given sides only, we want that property. Opposite sides are congruent. So I'm going to denote that with a little red 1 up here. So we know that a minus 3 equals 14. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And a equals 17. We know that b plus 2 equals 7. I'll subtract 2 from both sides. And b equals 5. So that's how you do number 1. Number 3, this time they give us diagonals. Ooh, diagonals. So again, I only have one property that involves diagonals, and that is that they bisect each other. So I'm going to put a little 4 right there. So the fact that they bisect each other means that h minus 8 is congruent to 12, and g plus 7 is congruent to 15. So h minus 8 equals 12. I'll add 8 to both sides. H equals 20. And then g plus 7 equals 15. I'll subtract 7 from both sides. And g equals 8. Number 5. This is another one with diagonals. So that's property 4 down below. So I'm going to say that these two segments are congruent, and these two segments are congruent. So we'll say that 3j equals 5j minus 9. I'm going to subtract 5j from both sides. So negative 2j equals negative 9. So j equals, when I divide both sides by negative 2, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and I'm left with 9 over 2. Now let's do that for the k's. So k plus 10 equals 6k. I'll subtract a k from both sides. So 10 equals 5k. Divide both sides by 5, and k equals 2. Number 7. Number 7, I've got both opposite sides and consecutive angles. So there's two properties I'm going to use. So I'm going to use number 1 again, and I'm going to use property 3. So I'll denote that with 1 and 3. So for property 1, we're saying that 8g minus 3 equals 25. I'll add 3 to both sides. And 8g equals 28. I'll divide both sides by 8. And g is going to simplify to 7 over 2. Now property 3 says that consecutive angles are supplementary. Supplementary means that they add to 180. So I'm going to say that f plus 30 plus 72 equals 180. So I'll subtract 72 from both sides. I'll subtract 30 from both sides. And f equals 78. Number 9. This time all we have is angles. We have one set that is supplementary and one set that is congruent. So these two are consecutive, so they're supplementary. These two are opposite, so they are congruent. So on number 9, I'm using properties 2 and 3. So I'm going to start with the supplementary ones first. I'll say that 106 degrees plus 7a minus 3 degrees equals 180. Subtract 106 from both sides. I'll add 3 to both sides. And then I'll divide both sides by 7. And I end up with a equals 11. Now I have to find b. To do that, I know that 9b minus 2 equals 106 degrees because these are congruent to each other. So I'll add 2 to both sides. And then I'll divide both sides by 9. And I get b equals 12. Number 11, this is another one with diagonals. So that's going to be property number 4. Again, I know that these two segments are congruent and these two segments are congruent because the diagonals bisect each other, so they cut each other exactly in half. So let's do t first. I know that 8t minus 30 equals 4t plus 6. I'll subtract 4t from both sides. I'm left with 4t minus 30 equals 6. I'll add 30 to both sides. So 4t equals 36. And if I divide both sides by 4, I'll get t equals 9. Now let's find v. I know that 9v minus 13 equals 2t plus 5. Well, I found out what t is, so let's plug that in. So 9v minus 13 equals 2 times t, which is 9, plus 5. 2 times 9 is 18. So 9v minus 13 equals 18 plus 5. I'm showing a lot more steps than you really need to show. I'm going to add 13 to both sides. So 9v equals 36. Divide both sides by 9, and v equals 4. So that's half of the front page. Now let's look at the back page. To do number 13, find the measure of angle AEB. I'm just going to look at what I've got. 80 doesn't really help me here. 23, I can't think of anything, but at 117, I notice that that's a vertical angle. So vertical angles are always congruent. So I know that this angle here must also be 117. The measure of angle B. You knew I was going to say it. So that's BAE. Well, I just found 117 here. And I know that this angle plus this one plus that one must equal 180 because this forms a triangle. So I'm going to do 180 minus 117 minus 23. And I get 40 degrees. Just realized I didn't highlight my last answer. Now to find BCD and ADC, I would recommend looking for something that's congruent to BCD. We might know what a couple of angles add up to. And then for ADC, we might recognize that these two angles add to 180. So that's the hint that I'm going to give you on those two. All right, 17 through 22. Question 17 says graph the quadrilateral, and here are the vertices that we're given. So let's plot each of those. I'm going to do this in blue so it shows up a little bit better. So there's A. B is at -1, 1. C is at 2, 0. And D is at 0, negative 4. So I'm going to connect A to B, B to C, C to D, and D back to A. And it kind of looks like a parallelogram. But let's go ahead and answer the questions first. Number 18 says, find the slope of side AB. If you don't remember the slope formula, I did put it down below. So the slope is YB minus YA over XB minus XA. And I'll remind you, those A's and B's, those are subscripts. They're little name tags, basically. It's just telling us which X and which Y we're using. So I'm going to rewrite this. My Y component of B is 1. My Y component of A is negative 3. My X component of B is negative 1. And my X component of A is negative 3. So on top, 1 minus negative 3, that's the same as 1 plus 3, that's 4. And on bottom, negative 1 minus negative 3, that's negative 1 plus 3, which is 2. So this slope is 4 over 2, which simplifies to just 2. Now let's find the slope of CD. I'm not going to write out the formula again. But let's see. The Y part of D is negative 4. The Y part of C is 0. The X part of D is 0. And the X part of C is 2. Negative 4 minus 0 is just negative 4. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 4 over 2 is 2. So that's interesting. They have the same slope. Let's look at number 20. Find the length of AB. So we're going to use the distance formula for that. And if you'll notice, I already did x sub b minus x sub a, and I got 2. So I can write that as 2 squared. And I already did y sub b minus y sub a, and I got 4. So I'll put 4 squared. So 2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16. So square root of 20, which simplifies to 2 square root of 5. Your yellow calculators would tell you that. Now let's find the length of CD. Again, I already did x sub d minus x sub c, and I got negative 2. And I already did y sub d minus y sub c up here, and I got negative 4. Negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. And this is looking pretty familiar. It's exactly what we did right here. So I'm just going to skip ahead to 2 square root of 5. So the big question here, is quadrilateral ABCD a parallelogram? Well, looking at what we found that AB and CD have the same slope, and they have the same length. And if you look back at our properties, same slope means that the opposite sides are parallel. That is part of the definition of a parallelogram. And opposite sides are congruent is a property of a parallelogram. So we're going to say yes. So AB is parallel to CD, and AB is congruent to CD. That's all we need. So hopefully that was helpful. I'm sorry I couldn't be there today, but we'll figure it out. Y'all have a good day.